Hello, today I want to talk about that quiet fear inside. The one that says, if I follow what I really feel, will people think that I have lost it? If you are watching this, it is highly likely that you are someone who is capable, reliable, and intelligent. Someone who's built a life with responsibility, where you have a job, a vocation that you care about. Indeed, it might be that from the outside, it looks like you've got it all together. But inside, you are beginning to dabble in things that may be considered a little bit different. By that, I mean, in secret, you're looking at astrology, you are maybe interested in the afterlife, or angels, or people who channel spirit guides, and all of that stuff you're being pulled towards, but it's not considered in your world or in the outer world rational. And all of these interests that are tugging at your curiosity, you are feeling, I can't possibly speak about these things out loud. Here's my take on it. Those curiosities, those signs, those pulls, they are there to expand your inner world in order to assist your outer world. And in my humble opinion, you haven't lost it. Because when you start listening to yourself in a different way, it might be that your choices don't always make sense to the people around you. They don't make sense to you yet because you are still living under an old framework. So if a part of you is holding back from leaning into these other things because you're worried about how it might look, that is understandable. It can be true that these new things can look quite unclear from the outside. So today we're going to explore why it's happening, what it means, and how you can give yourself the space to safely explore it without feeling like you're stepping off the edge. And the reason I'm here sharing all these things with you is because I have lived it. So my story is that I left the police service after 15 years. And what transpired was that I began to discover a more feminine way of living. I began to slow down in my life, and I discovered that I liked things like feathers and stones and building little altars, dabbling into planets and the sun and the moon and the stars. And in my early days of leaning into all of this, because I'm someone who likes to speak on all these things, I started making videos and gathering women as this sole mission to inspire women to return to themselves, to return to their intuition. But the problem was the people who I'd been associating with were not used to this version of me. And I received some feedback. I received things like, was she always like this when you worked with her? Or has she gone a bit mad? Or over time, this then developed into, well, at first I thought it was a bit mad, but then it all started to make sense. Because that's the thing, these things, they take time. They take time to enter your mind, your body, inhabit them, for them to become part of your life, and then for you to begin perhaps to externalize these things. So if you're in a phase where you're still showing up to work, to your family, to your responsibilities, and yet you've got all of these nudges happening within you, taking you towards a world that's piquing your interest in quite a big way, the invitation is to open up into that. Here's what's happening. Your inner world is actually expanding a lot faster than what's going on in your outside world. And that in itself can create a bit of suppose a bit like a jet lag, where you don't quite know what time it is, so that can feel quite confusing. And it can feel confusing because these new things that you're learning will mean that you're comparing the newness with the old life. And that can sometimes indicate that something feels off, and that can be quite discombobulating. This person you've been, the capable, organized, intelligent person, this person has built your life. What you're living now, that's thanks to that person. But now inside, with the newness, with the new interests, there's a newer version that's forming. And this version is perhaps more spiritual, more intuitive, softer. But what's important to understand is this newer version is still forming. It takes time for clarity to truly land. You live in a world where you're not given time. It's do. And that's why you've lived the life the way that you have. And that's why you are who you are. But these new things that want to emerge, how can you hold them in order to give them the time to form? It doesn't mean just because you've discovered new things that you need to jack your job in, that you need to start a new life straight away. It might not mean that at all. But time will give you the answer, and it will tell you what you need to take from these new learnings and how you can bring them into your new life. And the one important thing I've found is the need to create a space to explore those feelings alone. So whether that is that you create somewhere at home that is your space to put your things, or whether it is that you create time to go alone in nature, to let those new teachings or those new frequencies come through you, whether it's journaling, it's really important to have that space for you where there's no outer judgment. You're giving those freedom to roam within. And essentially, it's what I go back to all the time. What you're doing in that space is creating a space to connect all the way back to you, what you feel, what gives you joy, what puts a smile on your face, what it is that's bringing vitality back from within. Because space, the space, is where the magic happens. It's that place where you can simply notice, observe, feel, experiment without the need to be marked or judged by anybody else. Consider this: the cost of not creating that space for yourself is real. It can show up as frustration, as anxiety, as losing the part of you that has the ability to dream, to imagine, to feel. But the value, on the other hand, of creating that space, even in little parts, the value of it is enormous, because what you get from that is joy, is clarity, and a sense of aliveness that allows you to thrive once again. It gives you a sense that you can grow. And the more you give yourself permission to explore these things freely, the more aligned and the more alive you'll feel. And plot twist, as they say on the old socials, you can be rational, intelligent, and grounded, and at the same time be into intuition, energy, patterns. Those two sides of you, they don't conflict together. They actually expand together. And that expansion is at its most safe and transformative when it has a home inside you where it can exist. A home that is yours alone. Just because they're yours inside it doesn't mean that you're hiding them. It's normal to feel like you can't say all these things out loud. They're yours. What an amazing thing to give yourself the gift of private exploration, the freedom to feel, the freedom to think, and all of that to reconnect with you and to align yourself with something where you can touch the bottom and know what's yours and what isn't. Develop confidence in why you need to, at that moment in time, be interested in those things. So to wrap this up, there may well be a period in your life where none of this, these new things you're into, magic numbers or feathers or signs, it may be that they don't make any sense to you and they don't make sense to anyone else. But for now, I just want you to remember, you're not lost, you're not losing it, you are transforming. You are curious about life. You're creating something from within that wants to breathe. And it might not make all the sense right now, but I know that you understand from the depths of you that when you create something, it takes its own time. You're not alone, you're not lost, you are in the right place that you're meant to be. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to comment, please do. As I say, I do not bite. And also another thing is, oh yeah, I've not said this before. Please subscribe if you are navigating this space and you want some support. I have a couple of resources, or 3. The first one is my first book, The Book of Revelations. This was written in that space of being completely in between and things revealing from inside. Now, I captured, funny word, all those in words, and that's how I express myself. These are for your quiet exploration, whether you're in bed on a sun lounger or a sofa, and it's available on Amazon worldwide. The other way you can explore these things is I have one-to-one spaces available. And for that, if you go onto my website, www.iamsophieleone.com, send me a message on there and we can arrange a session or 2 or 3. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time.